Hello, and welcome to the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management training session. During this session, we will show you how to set up delegate role assignments in the MCO portal. But just for your information, the process in the MCO portal and the provider portal are very similar. The role assignments and portal used are the main differences between these two processes. Our agenda will be adding a delegate and then managing delegate role assignments. The learning objectives for this session will be to explain the purpose of setting up delegate role assignments and to identify where to manage delegate information. Our first section we will be discussing is adding a delegate. So we will demonstrate how to add a registered delegate and how to add an unregistered delegate in the MCO portal. Before we get into the portal, we want to talk a little bit about the various roles that can be assigned within the portal. So let's take a look at these now. Also, for your information, what you're going to see in the provider portal is very similar to what you're going to see in the MCO portal. So these are very similar. So if you are the provider or the MCO, you do have a few options depending on the level of control you want over your information and tasks performed on your behalf. If you are an individual provider, you can directly assign and manage delegates to perform tasks such as submitting claims for you. If you don't want to manage those delegates yourself, you can assign a delegate administrator to manage them on your behalf. So this administrator can also perform tasks that the delegates do. If you are an individual provider within a group of providers, you don't want to perform the administrative work yourself or assign and manage delegates, you do have the option to assign an authorized administrator who will maintain all your provider account information and tasks. During enrollment, this provider type has the choice to opt out of portal access and rely solely on the administrator for all updates and processing of the tasks. Existing individual within a group providers will automatically be registered to access the portal, even if they decide to fully leverage that administrator for these tasks. Keep these roles in mind because the authorized administrator and delegates who work on their behalf of more than one provider will see something slightly different when they do log into the portal. The PAH, or primary account holder, is often used for existing providers or MCOs who used one email address to perform all tasks in the previous system. In the new PRSS provider and MCO portals, each user must have an individual email for added security. So the term PAH, or primary account holder, will not have a direct correlation to roles within PRSS. So each MCO will also have one primary account holder or PAH whose credentials will be created by Gainwell. The PAH will then need to create the delegates. So let's look at how to manage delegates in the portal. You're always going to start at the Secure MES login page. So we're showing you this slide because we aren't going to be able to demo this part in the training environment because it's not connected to MES, but we do want to make sure to show you what it looks like. So when you go to login, you will start at this MES secure login page, and you're going to enter your username and password in the correct fields, and then you're going to click sign in. After you sign in, you will then be taken to the MES landing page, and you will notice that there will be a provider management tile will pop up. There is a little blue arrow or drop down that you can click, and when you click that drop down, then it will populate this PRSS portal link. When you select the PRSS portal link, it will take you to the portal. So let's log into the training environment so you can see what it's going to look like. After you go through the MES login, you'll get to the home page here. You're going to go up to the top right login. You're going to put in your username and password. And so today we are going to use our MCO. Let's see, it didn't auto-populate, so let me grab this information. We're going to use the MCO CCC Plus. Put in that username. We'll grab the password here and put in our password. Notice we do have a little eyeball at the end of that password field. And if we're not sure we could put in the correct password, we can click that eyeball and it will reveal the password that we put in. It's also helpful for somebody like me who once in a while does a little typo. We're then going to click the Submit button. And this will take us to our MCO homepage. So we are at the CCC Plus Aetna Better Health. This is our MCO. Notice we have a Managed Care Entity ID. Okay, so our first task is going to be to find our Manage Delegate option. So we go up here to our navigation bar. It says My Account. We select that drop down, and we now see that we can do Portal, Profile Maintenance, or Manage Delegates. We want to select Manage Delegates. On our Manage Delegates, or on our Delegates page, we notice that we have a list of delegates that are currently in this section down below this table. We have a status of active, so all of these delegates are in active status. So we can see our list of current delegates. The two options that we're looking at right now would be the Add Unregistered Delegate and the Add Registered Delegate. So we're going to select the Add Registered Delegate button. And when we do that, it populates this window, the Add Registered Delegate window. What we need to add a registered delegate who is already known to the system would be a last name and a relationship code. So we are going to add Smith. We have asked George for his relationship code and the last name that's associated with that. So he's given it to us. So we have added his last name and the relationship code. And then we come over here. Since he's already known to the system, when we click continue, all right, so we have actually already added George. So we're going to notice that whenever we get an error or a pop-up that says the following form field errors, try again, the item you are attempting to add already exists. So yes, okay, now I see down here that George Smith is already in our delegate. So we're going to go over and I'm going to grab another delegate. Let me see if I can find one that we've not used on this account. Let's see. I believe we can use this one. All right, so I have a last name, Garcia. So I've asked Paula again for her last name and relationship code for this account. And then we're going to click continue. And there we go. It pops up the Add Registered Delegate. She's not already associated with our MCO, but she is already in the system. So now we get to assign the security functions to this delegate that we want to assign to her. Let's first look at, here again is the relationship code. Right beside that, you see an active checkbox. This active checkbox at the top of the window indicates whether this delegate can work on my behalf or on the MCO's behalf. So if we deselect that active checkbox, then this delegate is not going to be able to work on our behalf, but I want this delegate to be able to work on the behalf of this MCO. When we go down into the section that says Delegate Administrator, if I select Delegate Administrator for this delegate, notice I no longer have anything to select below that. There are no other functions because this, when I select Delegate Administrator, that means that this delegate will automatically be given all security functions and have ability to add and main delegates for this MCO. But I don't want to select Delegate Administrator for this delegate. I want to go down and assign the select security functions for her. So notice we have an available function section, and then we have a selected function section. The available functions are available for me to assign to this delegate. So I would just simply select a function, and when I do, it will highlight or put a different color on that function that I've selected. I go to the middle, I see an arrow button that I can select, and when I hit that arrow button, it then moves that available function over to a selected function. So if I want to select more than one function for this delegate, I would simply highlight or click on that function. I would hold Control down on my keyboard and I would select what other functions that I want to move over. And that way I can do more than one at a time. Then I would go back over here to this arrow icon or button in the middle, and then I select that and it moves all of those available functions that I just selected over to selected functions. So this delegate would be able to work these security functions or work functions. If I want to move the whole section over at one time, let's say, okay, I've gotten the wrong security functions for this delegate. So I'm going to go to this double arrow. And then when I select that double arrow, it will move all of those functions back over to available. And notice that there is nothing left in the selected functions. So let's say that this delegate is going to work most of the security functions or work functions. So I'm going to move over all of the available functions, make them selected functions, and I just want to move back the application list. That's the only thing that this delegate won't be working for us. So I would select, again, highlight or select it, and then I would use the arrow, that single arrow in the middle, and I would move that function back over to available. So available functions are work functions or security functions available to the delegate. Selected functions are those functions that you've selected for that delegate to be able to work for you. Okay, so now we have Paula Garcia. She is not a delegate administrator. She has all of our security or work functions available to her except application list. So then I'm going to go down. Remember, you have to click submit at the bottom. When I do that, it tells me that the add registered delegate was successfully saved, and that's what we want to see. Now we notice down here in our registered delegate table that we have Paula added to our registered delegates. She is active, and it also adds her relationship code. Okay, so then if we want to add an unregistered delegate, so that was add registered delegate. She's already known to the system, or they're already known to the system. We just need a last name and a relationship code. An unregistered delegate is not known to the system. They don't have a relationship code, so I'm going to select add unregistered delegate. When I select add unregistered delegate, now I'm going to need that information for that delegate. So we're going to put in, let's put in Garcia. And first name is Paul. So Paul Garcia is the unregistered delegate, not in the system, not known in the system as a delegate. So we now have to complete all asterisked fields because those are required. So we're going to put in an email address. Let's see, we want to do and then a birth date and the last four of a social, and then a phone number, primary language, we're going to select that. Again, here is that active checkbox. If we want this delegate to be able to work on our behalf, we need to have them active. I can make them inactive. I can make them active. So we're going to select active. And then again, we can go down, we can select the Delegate Administrator option. If I select Delegate Administrator, notice the security or the work functions disappear. And that's because this delegate, by being assigned Delegate Administrator, will automatically be given all security functions and has the ability to add and maintain delegates for the MCO. All right, I do not want this delegate to be a Delegate Administrator, so I'm going to uncheck that box. And then I can come down and add the security functions for this delegate. Again, we would select security function or work function. It highlights that function. We go over to the middle where the arrows are, and then I can select that arrow, and it moves from an available function to a selected function for that delegate. If I want to add more than one, I would select a security function, hold down on Control on my keyboard, and add different functions to be added more than one at a time. Then go over to this arrow and select the arrow, which moves those available functions over to selected functions for this delegate to be able to work. Double arrows will move everything all at one time. So the double arrows will move everything back or move everything over to selected functions if I select the other double arrow that moves the other direction. And I want this delegate to work everything except the spin down inquiry. So I select spin down inquiry, come over here to the arrow, move it back over to available. Again, we will come down when we're complete and click the Submit button. So I do have a maximum number of delegates. So this error is because I have exceeded the maximum number of active delegates allowed. So I will cancel this. I'm going to leave this page, and the maximum number of active delegates allowed is 15. So what I would have to do is make one of these delegates inactive. So when I would add a unregistered delegate, we would go through all those pages and we would select OK, and we would get the pop-up that would appear up here. Now that you have clicked Submit, you notice it takes you back and you have a banner at the top of your page that says the unregistered delegate was successfully saved. So now that we have added a registered delegate who has supplied you with their last name and their relationship code, we've added an unregistered delegate where you've had to complete the full information. This delegate, this unregistered delegate, receives the emails to complete portal registration, and the delegate will be able to access the account from the switch organization as soon as the registration is complete. So this unregistered delegate does not have access to the provider to work as a delegate on behalf of this provider until they complete the registration from the emails that they received. Okay, so now we have talked about adding a registered delegate and adding an unregistered delegate. Next, we are going to manage delegate role assignments from our MCO portal. So those delegates that are already working on our behalf, let's go back into the system. Notice we have our list of delegates down here under our Registered Delegates tab. We are going to select, let's select Michaela. So let's say Michaela has been working on our behalf, but we want to change her roles. So we select Michaela Brown, and it will now highlight or darken her record. We double click on Michaela, and it brings us to the Assign Delegate page. So again, notice that she is active for our provider. We can make her inactive, and then we can go down and click Save, and that would remove her from our registered delegate table. But we're going to remain active, and I'm going to demonstrate where they go if you make them inactive in just a moment. So we don't want to make her a delegate administrator. We want to add to her functions, her work functions. So we are going to select the application list update. I'm going to hit Control on my keyboard, and I'm also going to add provider capacity and restrictions inquiry. So we've selected those two available functions, and we're going to move those available functions over to the selected functions for Michaela to be able to work for us. So I'm going to click this arrow button, and now notice that she has more selected functions available to her. And we will go down to the bottom right, and we're going to click that Save button. And after the system saves this information, it will take us back to our delegates page. And it is that easy to change the functions for our delegate. Now notice up here at the top again, we have a banner that says Assigned Delegate was successfully saved. Okay, so now we have our delegates in active status. Let's say that Paula is not going to be working on our behalf anymore. We would select her account. Again, it would highlight her record, and we double click on Paula. We can say, okay, Paula is not going to be working on our behalf, so we're going to take the check mark out of active, go down and save at the bottom right. And now notice she's no longer in our active registered delegates. If I want to, let's say, okay, I want to add, that was a mistake. I didn't mean to make her inactive. I can go back over to our active status column. There's a filter icon up here, and I click on that filter. I can say include inactive and then select my filter. I don't have to add Michaela back in. All I need to do is find Paula. So we scroll down. Where did Paula go? And she should be inactive. Actually, let's find. All right, I am overlooking Oh, because we have a page 2. Okay, so this is a perfect time to show you that there are different pages that are available. So I'm going to go to page 2, click that arrow. There we go. There's Paula. So again, she's listed as inactive status. I'm going to click her record, which highlights her, double click her record, and notice that I can now select active. I can go and also edit any security functions or work functions that I want for Paula. Click save at the bottom right. And now when I go again, banner up at the top, it's going to tell us that that was successfully saved. I'm going to go to the status filter icon. I just want to see my active delegates. And here Paula is back in as an active delegate. And it's that easy in this system to manage those delegates. All right. So now we have a few questions to see what we've learned in today's session. So the first question we have is providers, MCOs, and ASOs can give portal access to their clerical or administrative staff. Is this true or false? And the correct answer is true. Question 2, a delegate administrator has access to all security functions, including the ability to add and maintain delegates. Is this true or false? And the correct answer to question 2 is true. Question 3, when an unregistered delegate is added, the delegate has immediate access to the authorized portal functionality. Is the answer to this true or false? We are talking about an unregistered delegate. And the correct answer to this would be false. Remember that an unregistered delegate, when they're added in, the delegate must follow instructions sent to their email to complete the registration. And question 4. What information must a registered delegate supply in order to be added as a delegate to another account? And you select all that apply. Remember when we added a registered delegate, it popped up the narrow window and we had some things that we had to ask the delegate, the registered delegate for. And the correct answer here would be the last name and the relationship code. So in summary, today we explained the purpose of setting up delegate role assignments, identified where to manage delegate information. And congratulations, you have completed Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management, PRSS 118. Thank you for attending.